and Recovery podcast. My name is Mark Schmallen.
Elise. Mark Schmallen.
Yeah, so knowing that I just had some surgery, my lip's a little numb still, so probably will sound like somebody that just came from the dentist, but whatever. Anyway, who are you?
All right, I'm going in tomorrow. I'm Elise.
I'm Nick.
Okay, glad we're all here. So, as we were just talking about, going into season 2 of the Life and Recovery podcast, which is kind of cool. Goal is just to have open conversations about what's going on in anybody's life and recovery, because we're never alone in anything we're going through. So hopefully we can come up with some things that can help people with what they're going through. So, what's going on with you guys these days?
Nick first.
Let's see, what's going on with me? Okay, so I'm moving to... I'm now spending like half of my time recently in New Mexico, and it's like a culture shock for me. It's a big change.
I
come from Austin, Texas, so I live in a big city right now, and it's pretty progressive, and it's not really Texas. It's kind of want to be Texas. You know,
the little blue dot in the big red sea.
Yeah, like, you know, expensive cowboy boots and $30 sandwiches, and everybody's like, "Oh, we're in Texas." Like,
yeah. To where here is what?
So where here is, you know, it's the Hatch green chili and gorgeous sunsets.
Yeah.
So I've got that change going on. Let me think. The other piece of, change for me that's going on is my son is coming to visit me at Christmas time. He's 23, and our relationship is changing. So I'm going more into an advisory role, which I should do as he's successfully individuating. But neither one of us have any experience here, right? So he and I grew up together. I had him when I was 20. And he left home when I was 38 and hasn't been back. He's gone off and had a really successful financial career. And anyways, long story short, so my son's going to come to my house for like 7 days, and I'm wondering what that's like, relating with him. What do you talk about with a 23-year-old kid that doesn't really have enough life experience yet to grab the other side of the point, and at the same time is no longer a child? And so what's my relationship with him? What's his relationship with me? And so on and so forth.
What's the biggest struggle with it?
I'm a little uncomfortable with not knowing
how to guide him, or what?
Yeah, like part of it is I'm a little uncomfortable with not knowing how to fill up 7 days worth of time. Because I don't really, I know him, he's my son, but I don't know him as an adult really anymore. He comes home like 5 days a year. So it's a different relationship.
Okay.
And it's not bad in any regard. I'm not like upset or stressed in any way, but it's definitely like, oh, this is a new dynamic.
Yeah, how do you understand the change? So you were clean throughout his entire
whole life. Yeah.
So he's never known another side. Never known another side of you. Are you seeing another side of him?
Yes.
I mean, he's 23 and he's in college.
I'm seeing another side of him. Yeah, I mean...
you seeing any of that side,
What's interesting is the side of him that I'm seeing is... part of it's a result of how I raised him and what I did with him. I can be accountable for some of that, and then some of that's his own individuation. So, for example, like, he is... really organized and fastidious and very scheduled and structured, and I'm like, oh my god,
so
like he learned that from me, right? Yeah, he learned it from me, right? And then the other parts of it that I find very fascinating about him is like, I asked him the other day, I'm like, so do you like go to bars and stuff? I would think a 23-year-old normal kid that's not in recovery would do that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. What do you do like in your off time? He's like, oh, I don't go to bars. It's like, that's where people with money go. I'm like a poor college student. I don't have money for that. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, do you ever drink alcohol or anything? He's like, well, like, if I'm at your house for Thanksgiving and then somebody has a White Claw, I'd take one for free, but I'm not buying alcohol, Dad. I don't have money for that.
Oh, so you're a kid.
I was like, oh, that's so funny, right? You know, I've had to, it's been interesting on like, how much do I engage with him? In what conversation? Where does the line get drawn and who draws it? Example, if he brings up something about his girlfriend who he's been dating for 2 or 3 years now and they're living together, how much do I say? How much do I not say? And still be involved in the conversation? No, just based on being his dad and not influencing anything or pushing an outcome that's my agenda. Like, this isn't, I don't want to have my agenda here. This is his life, right?
So where does, like, personal experience, like, oh, I fucked that up, but yet now...
Totally, right? Like, where do you not say that, and what do you say, right?
I mean, it's really, it's actually pretty impressive that you have that much foresight to look at it and be like, wow. You know, it's funny, I'm listening to you describe him, and so knowing you the way I do, that you've been barely successful in your life. You know, you've got a level of freedom financially, I guess I'd say, but... Mm-hmm. You're still so conscious. You drove across town to save 47 cents on some tacos if it saved your money.
All right, that's fair.
Which is funny with him. But, like, how do we not push our own agenda onto the other people around us?
Yes.
You know,
correct.
Like, I spent a lot of time, you know, it's so easy to go and be like, well, why the fuck would you, it's crazy for you to do that. That's just stupid. Well, maybe it's stupid based on my past experiences, my outcome in the life that I've lived, but it's not stupid for you. You never lived my life. You haven't done any of the shit that I've done. So how do I not inflict my own, you know, I've thought about it from my, you know, like we pass this, I heard somebody describe it as like your emotional dowry that you pass along generation to generation and all the fucked up pieces that we get handed, you know, if we're not conscious enough, and which is what I do like about the recovery process is challenging our own best thinking and coming out to say, is this something I actually want to keep in my life? Does this actually work for me still? Or do I just, fuck, this is never works, not gonna work, it's never gonna work ever. I need to throw that shit away. You know, we come in and start actually getting self-reflective enough to look at who we are and challenging our own best thinking, you know, gives you an opportunity to see that. And that's kind of amazing what you're doing, because I see a lot of parents who don't. They just pass the broken parts of themselves along to the next generation.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, the part that's really fascinating is like, how do I be supportive and listening and listen and be a trusted advisor, so to speak, and also not cushion all of his soft landings? Mm-hmm. You know, like when you think about some of your life, when I think about some of my life, some of the absolute dead-on best experience and like, oh my God, I'm not touching that stove again, didn't come from somebody sparing me that pain. Yeah, and I'm not saying it like massive here. We're not talking about like cut your hand off and see how it goes. You know what I mean? More like, you know, more like, oh, that's a relationship item. I see where this deal's heading. I'm not about to head it off. Yeah. You need to experience that deal. That. It'll make you better in the next one, right? Or
you know, like do what my dad does is just like the slightly disappointed like groan. So you're not really like but like your point has been taken.
I'm not going to tell you, but good luck with that.
Wow. A slightly disappointed groan.
Where the entire sentence has been said in one,
I love it. That's incredible. A slightly disappointed... Does he have like a slightly optimistic... is there the opposite of the slightly...
Oh, yeah.
Which is what?
It's like,
Oh.
So it's like,
So could you provide us a lifetime example of both?
Yeah, so it's like, oh, so I'm seeing this guy. Or, I've been dancing more.
I met a guy when I was dancing more.
That says so much. Does he have other noises that he makes that you like? Like that right there. You picked that up from him somewhere along the ways.
I did.
Like
That's a maybe.
Secondary version of this?
I'm not sure, but let me think about it kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's a
Gives you
piece.
space to respond.
Yeah, where I'm going to guide you, but without actually saying anything. I know I hated when I first came to my mom when I was first getting clean. I would ask her to do a lot of shit, and her only answer would be, "You'll figure it out." I was like, "Fuck you! I don't want to figure it out." But the cool thing was I actually did. Because you're right. Some of the best hard-fought lessons I learned were not my successes. And when I fell flat on my face and fucking landed flat on my fucking head. So, what's the scariest thing about going from so you said, a little bit of trepidation, a little bit of fear, going from a life you had, to not get detailed into the weeds of it, but you're going from Austin, Texas to, Albuquerque, New Mexico, and two very divergent careers. What's the scariest part of it?
The part that's the most sexy in the answer of the question is, I'm scared of the success way more than I'm scared of the failure.
Why? What's scary about the success?
The fear of the success is you just don't know what you're getting into. It could go way bigger than you think. It could be way more exciting than I imagined, and I don't even really have enough color yet to be able to write that. The part that's best about it for me is I was thinking about it the other day and writing in my journal. I'm like, where am I actually at in my little 44-year-old, 5'6", married with children, track home life? And the truth is, I think I'm ready to die.
What the hell does that mean?
Okay, so that's a good podcast for you, right?
Okay.
So ready to die, I wrote that I'm ready to die in the sense it doesn't mean I wish it upon myself. It doesn't mean I'm looking for it. I'm not going to drive the car down the wrong way. What it means is I'm that content that if it all ended today,
You
and
call
you
it a
said,
wrap and be happy with it.
You said if today was the end of it, dude, at the end of this show, at 45 minutes from now, I'm calling your life over, I'm like, I'm pretty good with that. I did pretty damn good, dude. I made some mistakes. I fell in love. I burned a couple relationships. I had some good successes. I lived some good life. I saw some neat things. Had relationships with good people. Tasted good food. It's a pretty good wrap on things.
So if you had to set a new high water mark in your life, what would it look like?
So that's the hardest part for me. If I had to set a new watermark in my life, it doesn't look anything like the last ones did. Such as...
What did the last ones look like? Give me some
Oh, the
some
last
context.
ones are so easy. They're so tactical. Make X amount of dollars, live in X kind of house, take X kind of vacation, have X kind of friends, fill your
Drive
life
a
up.
car
with,
that's
all
shiny
that
and
kind
pretty,
of shit.
all
That's once all that's gone.
Stereotypical.
That's all just like check box stuff. The next part is like, can I live in my career? Like, I really want to live in this next phase of my career in life where I wake up every day and go to bed every day and go, God damn, that was good.
So when
Like
you have,
most days.
how long you been in recovery now?
26 years.
So 26 years. So
Yeah.
when you started out with 26 minutes,
Yeah.
were those the aspirations you had?
No.
The fancy shiny car, the pretty thing, the X amount of bank account dollars. Like, what was your aspirations?
I didn't think it was realistic. I
What?
remember like writing down.
Didn't
I
think
have
what was
all of the
realistic.
journals and all the step work I've ever done in my life, ever, from the get-go.
What was the first?
Oh, the first thing
aspiration?
was like, it would be really neat to have a job that was not this much labor, because I worked 3 jobs for the first 18 months, 6.5 days a week. And I was like, it'd be cool to have one job, like most people, with that just are 40 hours a week, and a small home, and like an interesting wife. Boy, was I not specific enough. Like, I got all of it super duper quick, and it did not take long before I'm like, this sucks. I should have written something different.
So what was the next iteration of that?
The next iteration was like, then I was parenting and working and being in recovery and all those kind of things. And it was cool, and it changed over time.
Because you're a single parent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it changed over, and really, I mean, the single parent piece and like how we started off with some of this is that for the relationships that have been in my life or the people that are kind of come and gone, he's been the love of my life.
Your son.
My son, my whole adult life. Like, of all the people who've been in my life that have changed the way I feel, whether it was emotionally or romantically or whatever, he's been the consistent love of my life.
And so you're going to spend the next 7 days with the love of your life.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that he is anymore.
He's fucking 23 and he's a male.
Right.
I mean,
Right,
he's
right,
a pain
right.
in the ass is what he is.
Yeah, I mean, there's a part of it that's... I'm joking when I say that. Yes, he's still the love of my life. But what does the next iteration of my life look like? The exciting part is I'm not really sure how to write it because there's... The possibilities are so wide open for me, more so than they've ever been ever.
Yeah. And that in itself is scary.
That in itself is...
Because of
I'm not sure what to put on there because I think I'll hit it. I actually think I'll do it.
Is it easier to set the bar low?
Totally.
Like, oh, cool. This is comfortable. This is easy.
Yeah. Like, here's
This
an
is
easy writing. Like, oh, I'm going to get up every day and go to the job that is cool and I really like the people and it's super mellow. And my wife and I will, like, work on cooking together. I'm learning to cook right now.
Uh-huh.
I can barely fry an egg.
Yeah.
And so, you know, et cetera, et cetera. Like, those are all super easy check boxes.
Yeah.
How about if we go, like, extra big?
What's way the hell out of the box?
I don't know. I mean, in different regards, probably like 100 million in revenue and maybe like way out of the box. I think I'd like... Okay, here's way out of the box for me. If the clock is ticking.
Mm-hmm.
I'm walking the Camino de Santiago April 1st. I'm getting more nervous by the day as we get up to it.
As you get closer?
And I'm getting equally excited by the day. Like,
Because
I'm up to
you get it.
walking 8 miles a day now. I need to get to 13 by April.
Uh-huh.
It takes forever. I'm stuck with just me and my thoughts for like 2 or 3 hours a day, like one step at a time. Like,
So you do it with no phone, no anything? You're
Right.
actually replicating what you're going to do?
Correct.
Okay. Why is that
Oh my
scary?
god, no music?
No music, no nothing. I mean, the cars drive by, and I live, you know, in the mountains of New Mexico, so the neighbors tell me about bears and mountain lions and stuff, so I'm super frightened of that. So I only walk on the streets because I'm afraid I'm going to get eaten.
Probably more like by a raccoon.
You know, or something like that. What did you ask?
So just, I mean, so why is it so uncomfortable to be, you know, at 26 years clean,
Yeah.
to be stuck with you in your own skin? I mean, it's 3 hours of basically time with yourself. When was the last time you forcibly put yourself in a position where you had to deal with yourself?
I don't think ever. I don't know that
Okay.
I've ever had that luxury.
Okay.
Getting used to the unknown is more complicated than I thought.
Yeah, because I mean, I think a lot of like most things we're dramatically afraid of are just because they're unknown.
Totally.
You know.
Like, tomorrow I'm going to walk 3.5 miles, or 3.5 hours. I'm like, God bless, that's a long time. I notice my mind moving into other places. Like, God, I've never really looked at the trees that much before. I mean, not that I have anything to really look at than I looked at yesterday, but I usually look at them as I'm driving by at 30 miles an hour.
Yeah. So you're shifting your perspective to what actually
You're
counts.
being mindful.
It's a trip. I mean, I don't know that I'm a yoga guy. I'm not real spiritually centered. I don't know that that's my world, but this is definitely pretty cool, man. Like,
But you're forcing your hand out of what's normal.
totally.
You know, you're dealing with. Well, I mean, so is there an after effect to that? Is there a tale of success that comes beyond the obvious exercise, beyond
That
the
might
obvious,
be the success.
that you actually slow down to look at the
That
world
I just,
around you?
yeah, that I literally am just walking and thinking, and I'm not stimulated by anything other than like the next bird that flies off in front of me. You know,
Yeah,
like today
sitting here
I
too.
spent a good 20 minutes on that. Like, do they have robins in New Mexico? Is it a chipmunk that's on that log over? Like none of these thoughts mean anything, and I notice that I'm having them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are you
Well,
doing?
it's probably a lot more mellow.
I mean, part of it is like, are you losing it? Are you going insane?
Because you're not in a constant
For sure.
go,
Yeah,
go.
yeah, totally.
So you're spending
mindful
time-
abyss.
Yeah. Say it again?
You're in the mindful abyss.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Where you're literally not busying yourself away from yourself.
Yeah,
So in your old life, I remember you telling me about how every 15 minutes of your life were scheduled and incremented.
Right.
And now you have none of that.
Correct.
So you went from a very structured, very rigid, very compliant world, which could be, a job, or it could be jail, it could be anything, to what you have now. Which do you like better?
They're different. I am enjoying the newness of this.
Okay.
Yeah, I like this better now because I'm so sick of doing the old.
Yeah, because you get just I need something different. I mean, I don't know. I spent a long time busying myself away from myself because I didn't want to sit still with me, which was really fucking uncomfortable. I start wandering around between my ears too long. It can be kind of a dark, scary place to hang out. But to be able to look at to me, those things help me deal with stress. The long-term effectiveness of because I go out for an hour every morning and go for a run.
Yeah.
And the long-term effect of that is so subtle, but it's I'm calmer. I don't fly off at every little thing that happens in my life. Mm-hmm. I'm more chill. I can deal with stress more. That's it. Elise and I were talking earlier about this idea we're working on another book is basically this idea of stress. When you have a stress in your life that is so great, or any stress, doesn't matter, great, little, and my skills to deal with that stress are less than the stress itself, then it ends up it turns into some sort of behavior that I act out on. Could be using, could be sex, could be rage, could be anything. So a simple version of this would be more ever see a little toddler? When they get too stressed out, what do? Rah! Yell and scream and flop on the floor and fucking do whatever they do. They act out something they don't know how else to deal with. So there's an adult version of this exact same thing. So
mine looks a lot the same way.
Which is similar. Yeah, yelling, screaming. So when you get so stressed out, what is your immediate go-to? What do you do when you're so stressed out you don't know what to do?
Just
Sleep?
paralyzed.
Or you freeze.
I'm stuck in bed, and I can say in my brain, you should probably go do that one small thing over there you need to do. Can't move.
Yeah. I can't move. I can't deal with it. When you get so stressed out, when your stress exceeds your skill set,
yeah,
what do?
Nap.
So you've just fucking shut down.
Normally.
Check out.
Yeah, and I fall asleep quick.
Yeah. Yeah. Just done. I'm just gonna.
Yeah,
out. Yeah. Now, obviously, this podcast about being life in recovery. I know a lot of people when they get so. When I ask addicts in early recovery, what their go-to is, anytime there's a stressful emotion, easy, obvious answer.
They can start using, yeah.
Yeah, I get high. I use. So if my go-to has constantly been anytime a stress comes up that exceeds my skill sets, I fucking go get high. Or I fucking use anger as a weapon and I get pissed. Or I get sad, or I shut down, or I sleep, or I overeat, or I fucking detach, or I fucking run away, or any of all the above things. None of which are actually that effective. So if that's the reality, if my stresses exceed my skills, how do you fix that?
Well, it's funny that you said, I like that you said, you started to say, it's a really big stressor, and then you're like, well, actually it doesn't matter. It's mostly, the relationship between the skill and the stress. Because I'm thinking about, when I was gallivanting about in my addiction, and, nonchalantly walking out of stores with hundreds and hundreds of dollars of stolen merchandise, I was this just living my life, just part of the routine. Where's my ride? Come get me.
So you
move on to the next thing.
So you gained enough skills to deal with a high stress situation. First time you did that, I guarantee you were just freaking the fuck out inside. Right? Because you're doing something you don't want to be doing. So, but over time, you got more accustomed in the skills and the looking and the feeling and how you calm yourself down. Your skills exceeded your stress.
Yeah.
So.
But then, I came into recovery, right? And things that sounds really stressful for, a normie person, whatever, right? Someone who's not used to that lifestyle. That sounds really stressful to them. But to me, like, all the normal things were really stressful because they were all new to me, right? So, like, I'd have to, like, just call the doctor and make a doctor's appointment. Couldn't do it. Couldn't be bothered to do it. It's not happening. I would rather take a 3-hour nap. I'm avoiding this. How could I possibly pick up the phone and call the doctor?
Question.
Like, something that is so small to regular society, like, I could not do it.
Was it that, or was it dealing with the repercussions of what you could actually find when you get to the doctor?
No.
Like, I did that, but there was a consequence behind it. Like, when I used to get these crazy nosebleeds on the street, I was sure that my brain had cancer and my fucking head was going to explode when I went there. They were going to give me some doom answer to what was going on. And so I just started avoiding it because I had no ability to deal with that stress. So, like...
I mean, I could answer some of that from a different light, maybe. Yeah. How I handled the skill set to the stress at 1 to 5 years clean is far different than I handle the skill set of stress to skills at 20 plus years clean. And one of the things that's really changed is that my ability to look at the stress tactically has changed dramatically.
What does it mean to look at the stress tactically? For example,
like, let's just say most people in society get really stressed about figuring out how to do their taxes. Mm-hmm. Or oh my God, April 15th is coming. I got to get the taxes done, right? At one point in time, my thought process would stop there and just go, oh my God, I got to get the taxes done. It's April 15th. Now, I look at it and I go, okay, so before we get into that, you've been doing your taxes for fucking 30 years every year by April 15th. Is it reasonable to believe this year is the year it all changes?
So
probably not.
So being self-reflective.
So that's one item. Then the second piece is like, okay, if you didn't do the taxes by April 15th, would your whole world collapse? No. I just wouldn't get my refund fast enough. Oh, okay, so you're looking to getting some money back from the government. A reframe on this would be, let's get the fucking paperwork done. I could use the money.
Yeah, so you start looking more at what the benefits of the solution are as opposed to
now, part of that, problem. I would look at that and go, my God, this is an exhausting mental process to go through this little exercise. I wonder if most people do this. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. I don't know. The little brain that I was born with goes through this every year. I'm just getting better at dealing with it and going, okay, hang on, Haas. If you let it all go, would anything in your life be any different? And most of the time, the things that I would be stressed about, my life wouldn't be any different if I did or didn't do anything.
So how do you make... So I see a lot of people come into the fact where you get super stressed about X. And I'm really at the place where we're just talking about, I don't know how to deal with it because the skills I have just don't qualify. So I'm stuck. I don't know what to fucking do. I don't want to run, but yet I don't know how to gain new skills.
So I think there's a few different ways to handle that. And one would be recognize where, like, I'm a real big believer that our weaknesses are our weaknesses and our strengths are our strengths, and I'm probably never going to get really good at one of my weaknesses. But I can really accelerate my strengths. So, for example, when I get one of these items in play and I'm like, I'm super nervous about this. I've got something coming up in my relationship. Or, like, I'll give you a very lifetime example, right? For me, where I get most crippled in my life of making decisions is anything that has to do with my relationship with my partner, with my wife, or anything that has to do with anger, pain, misunderstandings, etc. I get very nervous there. So how do you handle the stresses that come up? So the first thing I normally do now is I contact people who I find handle themselves well in relationships, and I go, hey, I've got this coming up. Could you give me a 1, 2, 3 bumper sticker, post-it note, short version solution on what you would do here? And then I take the advice. Second thing would be, like, a very common thing people do in cognitive processing, is a pros and cons list. Some things other people would do would be like, if I had that stress in my life and I just decided I'm going to completely divorce it and not do anything that has to do, like make the doctor's appointment, have the conversation with the wife, do the thing, would anything in my life be different? And if the answer is no, then I don't do anything. I completely divorce from all action.
So if there's going to be no long-term outcome change in your life, just fuck it.
I don't even get involved.
Don't worry about any of it.
Totally bypass.
Okay.
I, at one point in time, like, thought everything was important, mattered, did all kinds of stuff. I'm like, most of this shit doesn't make any difference at all.
Yeah.
Like, literally at all.
Well, a lot of people get involved in shit that... Like, I started thinking about that the other day. Somebody was doing something I thought was shitty. And, you know, like, the gut reaction is to go get it. But you need to do this a different way. And I sit back and I'm like, there's 200 people that are probably doing other shitty things I know nothing about. Why do I feel the need that I got to insert myself into one person's reality over what this is when it really got nothing to do with me? Now, I'm not saying don't make an effort and don't make things right, but like where I choose to insert, you know, stress in my life is, you know, that's negotiable in some capacity.
Yeah, in some capacity.
So thinking about this, like when I was, I mean, it's easy to sit here at multiple years. I mean, 26 years, oh, this is, and you know, we can look back and see all these things are great. But when you're brand new and everybody, you know, basically what you're asking somebody to do when they talk about not using dope is like, I want you to get rid of every friend you have. I want you to get rid of how you deal with your emotions. I want you to get rid of your social standing on all qualities. I want to get rid of your problem solving techniques, all of this shit, and basically do all this thing from scratch. And what you do, and so everything is new. When you take away the one skill set that helped me solve every problem I had, what would you suggest in your imminent 26 years of wisdom to somebody who's brand new trying to figure every component piece of their life when everything is different?
Okay, so in parentheses, just because you have 26 years clean doesn't mean you live any kind of life of normalcy. Okay, just so we're all clear.
Yeah.
I really believe in the concept of subcontracting to an expert subcontracting out to an expert a way to get a path moving. I find that indecision is more expensive and more difficult for most people to deal with than even the wrong decision. Prime example. My best friend lives in Dallas. He was in a horrible marriage for 20 years. He's 45 years old. He's my age. He's got 3 kids. He's, you know, all the wonders start going through your head. How much is the child support? Yada, yada, yada. And he got completely immobilized with what to do. He was completely clear, like the 3rd or 4th therapist into it, that it's time to hit the eject button here, right? For those of you who don't know what that means, it used to be a cassette tape and you would press eject and it would come out of the dashboard. It was time for him to remove himself from his life. And finally, it was like he'd lived on his parents' couch for 6 months. He moved out. He moved back in. He couldn't make a decision. He was crippled by indecision. And it was like, okay, dude, here's what we're going to do today. We're only going to do one action step today. We're not getting divorced today. We're not writing the decree. We didn't decide how much the child support was. The only thing I want you to do right now while we're on the phone is Google divorce attorney Dallas. I don't give a shit who comes up, how good they are, how bad they are. We're not reading reviews. You hit go on the telephone and schedule an appointment today. Next day we get on the phone. I'm like, today you go into the appointment. We don't decide anything. We're not deciding if we're getting married, divorced, fixing it all, finding God. Eliminate all that. 3rd day, decide what you want inside the divorce decree that matters to you and what doesn't. So and we just started granularly building tiny little wins towards an outcome. And about 2 months later, he was like, I'm literally on the doorstep of the courtroom. I'm about to walk in and prove up the divorce and sign the decree and move on with the next step of my life, right? And I'm not saying this is some like, oh my God, that's genius, Nick. How could you come up with such a plan? I'm not trying to like own the miracle here. The point is, he could still be sitting here today had he never just Googled divorce attorney Dallas.
Yeah.
We take one very, very small step towards anything, and before you know it, the indecision is over from the action, and you're way further down the road. Even if the outcome's wrong, I'm good with it.
Yeah.
The outcome being wrong just means great. I'm super clear I'm not supposed to be doing that.
Yeah.
I might need to do something different, but at least I know that's not the path.
Totally. I mean, in picking a starting point, even knowing what you don't want is actually a really good place.
So, for example, for people in early recovery, since this is about life and recovery, when they get struck by indecision and fear, and you've taken away the skill set of using that takes away all the pain and fear and this and that and the next thing, one thing some people can do in the method of subcontracting is you get a sponsor and you go, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to get a job today or what field, or if I'm supposed to stay in this relationship with this woman. Can you help me make some of these decisions?
You at least give me a different perspective.
I don't even know about perspective. I'm saying just get someone to point action in your life and say, Mark, go do that. Elise, go do this. I don't even care if you agree with me. Just do something.
To
Anything.
Make action over indecision of just
action over
complacency.
indecision. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I remember talking to somebody who did this whole subcontracting your decision making.
Yeah.
You know, somebody for an early recovery said, whatever you're thinking of doing, turn around and find the direct opposite of whatever that is, and that's probably what you should do, because your decision making ability sucks.
Right. Like there's a really good in a 12-step program. There's a really good comedian named Mark Lundquist, and he has a whole bit on what's called first thought wrong. He says every first thought that he has is incorrect. It's how he was born, how he was programmed. So every thought that comes into his mind, he just waits for the second thought to come in, and then he goes with that one automatically default every single time, no matter what. Like, should I break up with my wife? She's a total bitch. Waiting. Second thought comes in. Maybe go see a therapist instead. That's the one I'm doing.
To run or subcontracting out your decision making. I mean, I like the idea of asking people who've been through shit. I mean, there is a cool thing about going into the rooms. Is like, I showed up in early recovery knowing a shitload about using. I know a goddamn thing about recovery.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know how to make it successful. I didn't know how to deal with emotions. I didn't know how to show up in the world. I didn't know how to do anything that didn't have to do with using. So I had to really turn around and ask. You know, what are the things? Yeah, go for it, Elise. What are you saying?
Yeah, I really enjoy being told what to do in early recovery. It's like, you go to IOP, I'm putting your ex-boyfriend's map coordinates in your ankle bracelet. So if you go there, you're going to jail. Go to meetings. Like, the end of story. They call every morning, do your UA by noon. That's it. And I was like, okay. You know, I was like, sweet, I don't have to think about seeing him today. I know that I'm not going to do it because I'm going to get in trouble. And, like, it's interesting because, like, accountability has so much to do with stress for me today as well. But it's like the more you go along in your recovery, the more accountable you have to be to your own decisions, you know? And so kind of like you were talking about, right, of, like, the unknown, right? Like, the more decisions I have to make, the more choices I have, the more new things, the unknown that comes up, like, the more stress can come up. And so I did that kind of, like, I hear you saying, you're like, is this life changing? Like, is this one fucking thing that you are, like, losing your hair out over? Like, is it life or death? You know? Because I will, like, the other day, last week, I was feeling really overwhelmed, and I was like, you know what, that's it. Like, you're already paralyzed and you're not doing anything, so now I'm going to take it all off the plate. Like, you're not allowed to do anything today. Like, if you get up and you try to do something, you're fired. Like, you're fired from life today. Like, sit your ass in bed and do nothing. And it was so relieving that, like, I actually found myself struggling to do that. And I felt, like, empowered to, like, get things done the next day. Because you know, it's like when you're indecisive but you're trying to rest, you're not resting. You're just, like, buzzing like a frozen
What about this? What
statue.
about that? What about this? Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and that's, I mean, I like the idea of kind of crowdsourcing my own wisdom, you know, to like getting, like somebody was talking about their tight inner circle, you know, the rings. Basically, their inner ring is the, you know, the people, your ride or die friends you can call Sunday night 3 a.m. They're going to answer the phone. You know, a couple people that you really lean on. And then, you know, your outer ring being like, you know, your closer, tight-knit friends, but not quite as knit. And then like the recovery community as a whole. And people that you can lean on. You know, because when I started out, we were just talking a second ago about how stress exceeding skills. So when my stress exceeds my skills, he's just like, all right, I don't know this. Who does know how to fuck with this? Who does know how to deal with taxes? Who does know how to deal with relationships? Who does? And being able to go to and being reflective enough to like, cool, I don't have to know, but I know somebody who does, and let me ask them. And you do that in different facets and different aspects of your life over time. That just becomes part of you. Because like, oh, I remember what he said once. That worked really fucking great. Let me do that. You know, oh, this is how I deal with my baby mama. Oh, that's what I do with it, you know, every other situation in my life where I can actually just start to gain these skills. I mean, my whole recovery, I swear to God, has been built by just listening to other people and taking what they did. And, you know, I don't like everything that everybody says, but going, oh, that's a good idea. Keep that for later. Oh, that's a really good thing. Let me add that to my, you know, repertoire. And just showing up and being around people. Because then eventually, over time, my skills to deal with life and any other stress gets much better. And now then you just get reflexive to being like, oh, I don't know what to do. Who does? Oh, I don't know what to do. How can I get this? And the cool thing about working, being around other people in recovery is I'm never as alone as I thought I was going to be. Like, I always used to think that my problems, nobody clearly has ever had this problem. I'm alone in this. But the more you speak up, you're like, oh yeah, I had to deal with that shit too. And so you can just get this network of confidence that can actually help you deal with shit and go through it, you know, and then they just become part of who you are over the long term. I think would be incredibly helpful in this. But going through that. So cool. I really appreciate you guys' time today. This is actually a pretty cool conversation. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. Hope you have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.
For sure. Bye.
Bye.
All information and other content supplied or communicated in or through this video is for general informational purposes only and does not nor is intended to constitute legal or medical advice. Any viewer of this video should contact his or her own attorney, doctor, or other applicable advisor or practitioner to obtain legal, medical, or other applicable advice with respect to the accuracy, reliability, or potential application to such viewer of any matter discussed or portrayed in this video. Please do not act or refrain from acting in any way based on any information or content supplied or communicated in or through this video. The views expressed during this video are those of the individual presenters only and not those of Choice Recovery Path LLC or any of its customers, suppliers, or affiliates. Any liability with respect to actions taken or not taken by any viewer based on any information or content supplied or communicated in or through such video is hereby expressly disclaimed. All such information or content is expressly provided as is and free of any representation or warranty of any kind.